Hey, what's up, everyone? Massive welcome to another exciting episode on the InfoSec Live channel, hosted by myself, Simon Linstead, and today joined by two very, very exciting guests. Firstly, let's speak to Aaron Lax. Aaron, please say hello to everyone and let everyone know a bit about yourself who doesn't know you, please.
Good morning, everybody. Aaron Lax. I'm a server administrator for a engineering company here in Arkansas. However, I'm also a security enthusiast and influencer, of course, and advisor to the CEO of Cloudflare Technologies. So, kind of a range of mix of things, and just have a knowledge of base in a lot of different areas. So,
And I think
it's
you're
a
underselling
joy to
yourself.
talk.
You're underselling yourself a
Well.
little bit, Aaron. You're also a bit of a visionary when it comes to what the future holds, and that is
I try to be.
in essence what we're here to talk about today. So quickly over to you, Roger. I'm sure most of our audience know who you are, but if you don't mind just giving a quick couple of minutes, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I'm a 34-year computer security architect, consultant, worked for KnowBe4. I'm a data-driven defense evangelist, written 13 books, 1,200 magazine articles. I have interest all over computer security. I don't know it all. I learn something new every day, but I love talking about, my passions, trying to fix the internet to make it a safer place for everybody. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I think you said last time you were on, Roger, you've been trying that for 35 years now. And if you don't get there by the end, you failed. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 10 more years. I think I will fail because it just seems to take, for some reason, we invent new technologies and we just go through the same learning curves, like we learn nothing from the previous technologies, and most people really don't care until it impacts them. And I don't know. Sometimes it's depressing, but we do improve things. It just needs to be significant. Needs to be significantly improved.
It does. I mean, I won't hop on about my usual favorite subject, which is the big marketing budgets from unicorn service providers driving the market at the moment. And us not addressing the education and awareness is, in my opinion, again, not an industry expert, but I think that's where we need to be focusing budgets and attention at the moment. So today isn't about me whinging about big companies and their marketing budgets for a change. It's actually about the future of quantum tech. And as you just said, Roger, we seem to be woefully unprepared for lots of things, not just in this industry, but I suppose as a society, we watch history repeat itself over and over again on so many different levels. And my concern and kind of Aaron and I's initial discussion was that I feel that the industry isn't talking about this enough and it's just around the corner. So I suppose, can I throw it back to you, Aaron, to start with about what your concerns are with regards to quantum tech? And then I'm going to do myself a favor and mute my microphone.
Okay. Yeah, so my concerns with quantum tech are basically, well, first of all, I agree with Roger last week and with him saying that this has probably already existed for quite a few years in probably private military areas. However, what I actually fear in regards to security, in regards to quantum computers, is that we just don't have a complete understanding of even quantum physics yet. Therefore, we don't even have a true understanding of what's going to be able to protect it. And therefore, we've seen already one of the 4 finalists get hacked, broken by a single core computer. So, yeah, it's going to take a lot to prove to me that this is a secure technology. And so in the opposite side, it's got the capabilities of mathematics that will allow it to secure itself, which is the way I would do it. But in reality, it also breaks our current encryption. So that's going to be a mess. It's going to be a very messy project.
That sounds a bit like iRobot to me, letting it govern itself, but we won't get drawn into that whole debate. Roger, your thoughts on
so just to back up a little bit, we're soon either have or soon to get sufficiently capable quantum computers and devices that can break a lot of today's traditional asymmetric encryption, RSA Diffie-Hellman, elliptic curve cryptography, literally what makes the internet run, your bank work, your Wi-Fi router work, your MFA work, like it's all using this quantum susceptible encryption. And we don't know, I give it a 15% chance odds that some government, US or China, way. Probably very likely in the next handful of years. Like, I don't think any quantum security expert would be shocked if it was announced today that we had this capability. But it's certainly not far off.
No.
Now going to the latest encryption break, which is Psych, it's there's good and bad with it. And the first thing is to remember all the post-quantum ciphers that NIST in 2016 and the NSA and the lots of people say, hey, you need to start preparing now for the coming quantum cyber break. In 2016, NIST started a contest in 2016, 2017, where a bunch of people were supposed to submit post-quantum, quantum-resistant ciphers, and they're going to select which ones are going to be the finalists. And actually, that contest has gone on until recently. A couple of months ago, they announced what's called the round 3 finalists, which none of the round 3 finalists, which are the ones that are going to become the current post-quantum ciphers are their digital signatures and encryption. Ciphers means encryption. Digital signatures isn't a cipher, but let's say post-quantum cryptography. Those 4 that were announced have not been broken. So that's a good thing. The 4 that have come out of the contest in round 3 were not broken. What was recently broken was NIST said, hey, out of the initial 4 that we released in round 3, we're concerned because 3 of the 4 are based on the same kind of encryption protection called lattice or lattices. The 4th option they released in round 3, Sphinx, is not based upon that, but they said, hey, the other 3 are. And so if somebody discovers how to break lattice-based encryption, that's going to kind of break all 3. And this is not good. Yeah, this is not good. So we need some more. So they put out a new kind of unexpected, not completely unexpected. A lot of us have been expecting it for a year. Round 4, and in that of those 4, there was a cipher called Psych, super singular isogeny, which really is based upon curves. It's like elliptic curve cryptography. It's math that creates curves, and the private key is a curve and the public key is a curve. And if you get the output of that, you can't figure out from the public key what the curve was that was used in the private key. So they're not using large prime numbers. They're using mathematical curves. And let me tell you, a lot of people had a lot of hope in Psych. I did. Out of all there was 82 original submissions to the NIST contest. It went from 82 to 26 in round 2. But out of that, Psych really looked good because it was interesting. It was new. It was fast. It had very small key sizes, literally 100, 200 bytes versus some of the others. Like Classic McLeese, which is one of the round 3 finalists, requires million-bit key sizes. And nobody wants to use it because it'd be super slow to implement, and it was invented in 1978. And so far, it's really surviving all the attacks. But Psych was this kind of like, okay, it's this new idea. I think it got originally kind of invented, if you want to say that, in 2006. Then it kind of got implemented in the cipher, probably like 2016, got submitted to NIST in 2016 or 2019, something like that. But it really had a lot of promise. A lot of us really liked it. I was secretly disappointed when it didn't get made a round 3 finalist, which are those are the 4 that are going to become the new standards the soonest. Apparently NIST knew what they were doing because it got broken. And what's interesting is it got broken in a way that nobody thought about. And as Aaron, mentioned, it turns out the smaller key, the first level of protection that NIST would allow in the post-quantum standard, they broke in about an hour on an old laptop. And that's amazing to me because like you can't even break our existing ciphers that easily, right? So this was truly all encryption, digital encryption. Basically, here's a really difficult math problem. We put A times B, it gives you C. And even if you know B and C, you have a really hard time figuring out what A was. That's really what all encryption today is. And it was amazing. So what happened, even everybody was kind of shocked, I guess, except for the team that discovered the break. But they realized they could make these different, they figured out, okay, we don't know from B, so if A is the private key and we get B the public key, we can't figure out A, but hey, we can really figure out pretty easily this other set of curves we'll call C that turns out really quickly maps to A. So it was really,
interesting.
Yeah, so it was really, but everybody that wasn't involved in that team was like, wow, like it was actually based upon this older attack, but it was an extension of that attack, but people thought it had kind of been a dead end. So it was, not to keep on talking, but it was shocking. And let me say,
that's incredibly interesting. I love the mathematics behind it. So, I mean, that's incredibly interesting.
Yeah. And what the problem is that one of the likely round 3 finalists called Rainbow, which a lot of people loved. It was supported by Google and other people. It was really loved, and literally probably days before it was announced as a finalist, which this is different. We're catching Psych pre-finalist. But Rainbow was going to be a finalist, a real finalist. And some group, and I think it was an Israeli group, came out and said, "Hey, it's broken." And no one knew about the existence of this Israeli group. They're, some super secret group. They kind of announced, like, we've broken it. NIST kept going forward with Rainbow as a standard. And finally, that group released a paper showing they had broken it and they could crack it in a couple of days. And we're like, oh my God, they can crack it in a couple of days. That's terrible. And the question is, why did NIST continue to move forward with it as a potential finalist?
After a warning,
yeah. And let me say that NIST must have known about it because there's this big slowdown. They were supposed to announce it last year, the very early beginning of this year, but there was this slowdown. And then Rainbow came. And they were going to still release it. And then it utterly got broken. And people stepped back and went, oh my God. And then you have Psych. Which comes out, and it's going to be it's going to be a possible finalist. Let me say the good thing is that both were caught before being selected as finalists.
That is true.
The process worked. The bad thing is, it seems that they both got really, really close the 11th hour before they were. So the best thing you can say is, hey, the process worked. They're supposed to have a contest, supposed to see if they could break them. Turns out you could break them. And they're not a finalist, but it is starting to now.
But they are really close.
It's starting to go, hey, like, can we really trust like the 4 finalists that you've already delivered? And let me say, if somebody breaks one of the 4 round 3 finalists that are going to become our standards, that is going to be huge. And let me say, I'm a crypto hobbyist, cryptocurrency hobbyist. I'm a cryptography hobbyist for 30 years. And it's always slow and boring. I mean, and this stuff going on with the post-quantum ciphers, this is drama. This is Spanish novella TV drama with people yelling at each other and people undermining. Our whole system only works if you have trust, and there's a lot of trust issues. It is not good for drama to be in cryptography standards, and that's kind of what we got.
Sounds like the British government, Roger.
Yeah, I used to think you'll have the best style of government, parliamentary and all. And then I saw what happened to y'all and went, oh, they're as messed up as we are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Let's steer clear of the politics debate, because I could probably lose any further work opportunities if we start on this. So we'll steer completely clear. Aaron, anything you'd like to interject with at this point?
Well, honestly, the only question that I really have, other than that, not the only question, but one of the questions is, do you think with our current technologies that at the rate we're currently developing this technology, by the time it's ready, do you think it's going to be basically protected? Are we going to have the encryption ready?
Yeah, I mean, so overall, and let me say, I've written a book on quantum cryptography called Cryptography Apocalypse. I was the lead author for the Cloud Security Alliance's Practical Preparations for a Post-Quantum World. I mean, I've been in this world for a bunch of years. And, no one knows if...
I wanted to talk to you.
No one knows if we want, if someone won't break, let's say, like the 4 finalists. But, it looks like Classic McLeese has been tested for half a century. It looks for this is maybe the interesting thing a lot of people don't know about quantum computers is that quantum computers are not innately just faster at everything. They are innately faster at some problems. And one of the types of problems they're really good at is solving large prime. If you take 2 large prime numbers, multiply them by each other, that's our traditional asymmetric encryption. Turns out quantum computers, because of Peter Shor's algorithm announced in 1994, could break it in 8 easy steps. And it's really wild to see it break it. But it's kind of like you only had a chessboard and then quantum brought a 3D chessboard like you'd see on Star Trek or something. And so they don't break all problems. As a matter of fact, on some traditional things like just rote calculations and trying to break something, many times quantum
actually takes longer.
Yeah, but on some things, which includes the types of things it takes to break asymmetric encryption and even symmetric encryption, quantum computers are distinctively faster. But these post-quantum, they call them post-quantum algorithms, which is just called quantum resistant algorithms. Interesting thing to note. They're not quantum based. All it is traditional
just mathematical
binary math. Yeah, I tell you, it took a while for my brain to figure that out. Like I went, oh, they're not quantum based at all. They're just traditional mathematics that quantum computers cannot break very quickly. There is also quantum encryption, and that actually requires quantum devices, not even quantum computers. And we've actually had quantum devices capable of quantum things for 2 or 3 decades, since 2001.
Sure.
But the quantum encryption is this promise that once we all get there, that because the quantum stuff is by nature inherently protective, that this quantum encryption will really be this great encryption that will all. And let me say, 20 years from now, we're all going to be using quantum devices or quantum enabled devices. We'll have some access to a quantum processor. We're all going to be using quantum networks and a quantum internet and quantum routers because it's more protective. And Aaron, you had said, well, we don't know everything about quantum. We don't. But we actually do. What's interesting is quantum mechanics is among the most proven sciences ever. It has a higher level of confidence than the theory of gravity.
I agree.
What we don't know is how it does it sometimes, or even why it does it. Like entanglement, right? When these two particles touch each other, are going to be forever entangled for the rest of their lives. And what this guy does, like we know for a fact that's the way it works. Like we don't understand it.
I think
we know why.
Everything we've got already in our minds as to how everything works doesn't fit. And I'm not an academic, but I've read an awful lot on the subject, most of which I haven't understood, apart from the fact that we seem to be trying to apply it to outdated and old principles that don't fit.
I love the great allegory is Spanish came to North America in the 1400s, 1500s, conquered the Aztecs. And when the Spanish brought guns and horse and iron, the Aztecs didn't know how to describe that. So when they were shooting the guns, the Aztecs would say they're shooting sticks of fire, right? They didn't know about gunpowder and guns and bullets. It was sticks shooting fire and lightning, and they're gods. So that's really what we're doing to quantum physics. Like right now, we always go, it's so weird, it's so strange. Well, that's probably, what we thought about gravity back when everybody believed that there was only an Earth and everything revolved around. So within, we have actually solved so much of like entanglement, again, which is anytime two quantum particles, a photon, electron, a quark or something, anytime they touch or get near each other, they become entangled for the rest of their lives, even if they're separated by a universe apart. And if this one turns, and if you measure something on this one, it's what this one's going to be. It's so weird to think about. But the reality is it's just that it's different than what we understand it. And eventually 20, 30 years from now, that's when we describe it, it's going to be like describing gravity. It's just going to be the way that we describe to our children and grandchildren. This is the way the world works. So there's actually a great book, Beyond Weird by Philip Ball. If you understand quantum physics in a basic way, that book will blow your mind and change the way that you think about quantum physics. It is my most favorite quantum book, and I've read dozens. Beyond Weird by Philip Ball. He's like, hey, it's not weird. It's just the way we're just like you said, Simon. It's just kind of the way that we talk about it because it's new for us.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm hoping that it's all linked to some cosmic consciousness that's actually what causes everything to happen. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a spiritual answer. I'm sure it won't be, but
yeah. This is even another one I hate to take. But when you and I are looking at each other, if we're in the same room, when we look at each other, our particles actually become entangled. The photons. So in order for me to see you, the photons have to bounce off of you, and I get all of these billions of photons into my eyes. Those get entangled with the electrons and the energy and the nerve, the optic nerve that goes into my brain and gets stored as nerve and energy cells. But so we are entangled in this cosmic way forever. Now here's the difference. So is as you're driving down the street in every car, in every street, in every plant.
The guy that flicks you off.
Like everything's entangling. There's billions to trillions of entanglements that are entangling with you every second.
So Roger, when we keep seeing all these self-help books, right, that tells you that mindset is everything and you can control your own destiny, they've kind of got it wrong in one way, but in another way, I honestly think there's something to that. And from my own past experience, I mean, I've had this conversation with Aaron. I've achieved some amazing things in my life when I've set my mind to it, but I've also destroyed everything really quick by using the same mindset, but in reverse. And going back to your point about when we're talking being entangled, I read a paper the other day about some research done on couples who've been together a long time and how their heart rates become in sync when they're together at certain points. And it's absolutely fascinating. But as you said, Roger, existing science doesn't explain that in a tangible way for us unless we're made to think we're a bit weird and believing in magic, I think is the problem.
Yeah, and entanglement certainly is the weirdest one. That's the one Einstein, he understood the repercussions better than anybody, which is why he couldn't believe it. And he was, let me say, Einstein got his only Nobel Prize at the turn of the 20th century for putting together the first piece of quantum physics. But eventually, after 20 years, he was like, that crap is whacked. And I can't believe it. Yeah. But he actually put together the parts that we needed to prove entanglement. And he died before we proved it. But he said, hey, here's the experiment you need to do. And if you can do this experiment, it'll prove once and for all. And so now we've had 200,000 times that experiment and it proves entanglement. So we don't know why it does it. We don't know. I think we're going to end up with a bunch of different new dimensions. And, you always hear that particles
that's what I was going to bring up.
What dimensions?
Right now we're using 3 dimensions for current quantum computers. That's what I think. Saying.
4 or 5, right? Depending on where you put time, but it's like height, width, depth, time. So that you at least have 4. And like one of the wild things just from classical physics is that time is not a constant. Like that's one of the. You can talk about something that's weird. Like when. It really took me a long time, and I bought a bunch of pictures, a bunch of books on time. And let me say, they're even harder to understand than quantum physics at times.
No, most definitely. I mean,
I've tried reading. I'm with you on
that.
But
when you tell somebody like, I just did that, and it took about a second, they're like, yeah, I'm like, that's just an abstract contrast, concept that we use to track history. Their time is not 1 second. Yeah. It's just something we made up, and it's what we physically observe. But once you realize that time, and a matter of fact, this last night I was watching Back to the Future, right? And they actually had some of that, in there. But it's definitely an interesting world. But let me say, we have solved so much. Like quantum physics was this weird. Oh my God, it's so strange. We don't know what it is. We've actually solved a whole bunch of it, or at least proved it. Like entanglement. Anyone that says entanglement is not happening in the way that I described it is wrong. That's like saying that
we created it the other day.
It's like saying it would be like saying the sun evolves around, around the earth or whatever, and we're the center of the universe. It just isn't true. Entanglement exists. We just don't know why or how. The weird thing about entanglement is like if one of them turns right or left or whatever it is, the other one will immediately do so at least 7 times faster than the speed of light. And we're pretty sure that the speed of light is the fastest thing possible. So how is
it going faster?
Change faster? How do they communicate to each other? And that's where you start thinking about this additional dimension or fabric, or like if I have to travel around the Earth, it's faster for me if I go in an arc and like planes. Our planes, travel in arcs to make it faster than going in a straight line. So maybe with this other dimension, they're finding this shortcut, because that's kind of weird. It's like it's communicating faster than the speed of light. Nothing can communicate faster than the speed of light. But it is.
Yes.
Let's just jump in the chat. We've got loads of people jumping in. I want to make sure they feel included in this. And Mario, some amazing comments from you. The worst part is that security aren't ever safe as sure what you can do to protect against their programming capabilities. They do know, however, that it's possible to reprogram them just as we would with a normal computer. And then he goes on to say, it's just as quantum computers allow for more efficient algorithms, so the dangers of hacking increases.
They don't necessarily allow for more impressive algorithms. They allow breaking of them. But no, an algorithm can be put into anything. So
yeah. See, you're talking language over my head. I'm just meant to smile here and wave and look pretty.
Yeah, yeah. Well, quantum ultimately is a good thing. It is going to be as revolutionary as the internet and television was. It's going to create things we cannot imagine. Overall, it's an incredibly net good. And again, we're not. Imagine if you're trying to describe how the internet would be today, 20 years ago, to somebody, today I can talk on my phone and ask it any question, and it tells me the answer, and it tells me how to drive anywhere I want to go.
I'm just waiting, Roger, to be able to pick up my phone and say, "Beam me up." That's what I'm waiting for. I've been waiting for.
And actually, so far, quantum physics says that's impossible. Quantum teleportation, which you'll hear quantum teleportation, and people describe it like Star Trek teleportation. The problem is, in real life, even on Star Trek, they have to destroy the original copy. That's what they don't. They show the beings going away. Yeah, they're actually destroying you. So imagine if two copies ended up there, and they're like, well, to make the universe work, we've got to slaughter one of you. You have to
incinerate you.
I've read a science fiction book about that, actually, where I think it's by a French author, and it's about planes, and they go up in a plane. It's a bestseller, and basically one plane disappears, then it reappears and lands, and then I think 3 weeks later the same plane lands. So the same plane with the same people who are now at home somewhere else, and the book goes on, and basically it's the fabric of our space-time messing up because of what we've done. I think the book, going off tangent, but another comment from there before I start rambling on. Raven's asked, any concerns to blockchain with the coming quantum computing?
Yeah, so that's a really common question. Most blockchains, and it's different based upon your blockchains, and there are actually quantum-enabled blockchains, quantum-protected blockchains. Most blockchains are already protected by sufficiently quantum-resistant cryptography. AES. Anything that's AES, as an example, symmetric cipher 192 and above, is protected against known quantum attacks. So there's hardly any blockchains that the blockchain technology, the way that blockchains work, where they're taking integrity checks to the next blockchain. Most of the blockchains actually have multiple symmetric ciphers, and they have multiple rounds, makes them super resistant against quantum attacks. Here's the bad part. Almost all wallets that are used to write transactions to the blockchain are based upon quantum susceptible asymmetric encryption, and they all need to be upgraded, and all of the cryptocurrencies involved need to be forked. And everybody needs to upgrade, because essentially once these sufficiently capable quantum computers come out, not that you need them because they're stealing billions of dollars every day from crypto already.
It's the easiest financial heist in history, Roger. What's going on at the moment?
Instantly generate your cryptocurrency.
Yeah, a friend of mine. I'm writing a new article on it, calling "Time to Stop Being Crypto Bros" and actually use real security. But a friend of mine said it makes the ransomware people look like kindergartners, right? Because the ransomware people are making potentially billions. The crypto people are stealing many, many more billions. So they're announcing just the cross-chain and cross-chain cryptocurrency lost $2 billion in the first 8 months. And that's just one segment of the cryptocurrency. And there's billions of others still everywhere. And it's just, they need to stop being crypto bros and start actually practicing. You should not configure your computer like you're in a dorm if you're now working for a cryptocurrency.
I think the market might help itself a little bit there. You mentioned about wallets not having the encryption ready. I think most of the companies will have gone bust by the time that becomes a problem, Roger.
Yeah, you're right. Self-regulating or whatever. But I've had friends that have lost tens of thousands of dollars and stuff, and it hurts me. And you read about these people, they're like, I invested my life savings and it's all gone. And you want to go, you invested your life savings in a single thing?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, like you shouldn't even do that in a stock index fund, right? You should split it among stocks and bonds. You're like, what? And they're like, I'm a medical doctor and I've lost everything. You're like,
Roger, I've had people laugh at me so much the last 2 years. I mean, my background is regulated investment advice, so when it comes to diversification being crucial to any portfolio, I kind of understand that. And since the whole crypto boom's happened the last 2 years, whilst I have had a dabble in it with the small amount of money I've had and made a couple of quid where I can, it was with money that I could afford to lose. It wasn't with my income. And the problem we've got is we've had all the fiscal stimulation thanks to the pandemic. You've had money pumped into the economy, people buying crypto, and it's just become a hugely horrible situation that's kind of bursting at the moment, I think. And I still don't think we're anywhere near the bottom of that.
Yeah, even what I laugh about with crypto, and I love crypto, and crypto is going to be with us long term. Sure. But there's all this fraud, scams, and money thefts, right? Both legal and illegal, and everything. And it's slow, and they're like, well, we're going to do this off-chain thing. Everything they suggest is not using the inherent technology they said that would save us. And every change they make starts looking more like traditional finance. It's as if the reason why you need traditional finance and regulation and laws and slowness and human checking It's
Yes.
because people are stealing stuff.
Yeah, right.
Like the whole Web 3.0 infrastructure is people relearning what we learned 100 years ago.
Yep, exactly. Welcome
Very
to
true.
my life, Roger. Let's have a look in the chat. Paul Robinson. Paul said, VLEX security platform protocol, AI provisioning and routing or routing. See, I understood 3 of those words, so I'll pass it over to you guys.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that myself.
I don't know
actually
about
haven't
it
heard
at
of that one,
all.
Paul.
This
You don't.
is
Yeah,
what I'll
I
say
haven't
about
heard
it.
of
There
that
is
one
no
either.
such thing as real AI. It is
Agreed.
all just
Very true. It's all
everything.
machine learning. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll get there possibly, but I even published on LinkedIn an article about the difference between AI and the human brain, and if you should go read it because it talks about, well, this is the capability and capacity of computers. Here's the capability and capacity of brains, and essentially it comes down to our brains have a lot less transactions per second, maybe 1,000 versus trillions or something, but we're massively parallel. And that allows us to do things. So let me. That actually kind of it's an unrelated, like in quantum qubits, a quantum bit. So a traditional bit can only store a 1 or a 0, and it can only be a 1 or a 0 at any one time. So if I give you 3 traditional binary bits, you only have 3 pieces. It can be 9 different things or whatever that is, 3 to the 2,
Sure.
but it can only be 3 things at any one time. Those same quantum bits can be 8 or 9 things all at the same time,
All
and
at
really
the same
even
time.
a lot
Yes.
more. So you can actually to say how that, and you're like, well, okay, that's pretty cool. By the time you get to 79 qubits, that's enough massively parallel stuff to store all information ever created on Earth ever. 79
Yes.
qubits.
Qubits.
And we're getting so think the brain they're calculating has 1,000 plus of these. It's massively parallel, and it allows it to do things that computers. So I love the article, but AI we're getting better and better and better. It's not human intelligence yet, not yet.
And that's the thing. I mean, could it ever be? Because human intelligence was developed through survival and everything that we had to go through as man. I mean, so developing it as a computer, they don't have to do that. So it's going to be a different intelligence regardless.
Talking about iRobot again, because when it is at the point where it can understand where the real threats are, who do you think it's going to come after?
Well, not only this,
well,
but I think about a lot of our biggest forward advances have been unintentional errors. Like, supposedly the guy that discovered penicillin, which saved billions of lives, he had left some food out and got covered in spores and went, oh, it's not grown. And, a lot, like, I don't know about you or me, but I'll be sitting out looking at clouds or something. And all of a sudden I was like, that's the solution to this problem that's been plaguing me.
Yes.
Like it was just the shape of the cloud or something. Computers do what they're told to do. And I think sometimes it's our inherent errors and ability to massively think about different things. Like you're like, wow, that cloud looks like this thing that caused me to think about this thing. And now computers, it's going to be, AI is a good thing. We need to shoot for it. They need to do the things that but
well, the machine learning itself is of course needed. I mean, that right there in security is important as heck because we're using the analysis and the data from all the attacks to protect ourselves against the attacks. So machine learning is incredible, and AI is of course the step you want to take, but
we're not there yet.
If we'll get there in the next 50 years, we'll see.
Back to Roger's point, I think there isn't AI yet, but there's a lot of noise in the market that everyone's got AI in their products. And again, it's back to my beef on marketing direction and where money's spent. And then you can also blame the VC and the PE community a little bit because they're investing in anything that says AI.
Or quantum.
Yeah, or quantum. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you say quantum AI, well, I'm leveraging every penny I have. Yeah, quantum AI created token. Wow. I'm selling everything I have, going all in.
Here we go. Let's go back to Paul. He's clarified a bit. He said it's
I'm reading it.
Three algorithms even working together. Hexadecimal stream for AI algorithms in order to create a protocol language.
Yeah, Paul, you just stumped us. You've said a good thing that we know nothing about.
If you're interested in coming on the show next week and having a chat,
I would certainly be interested.
I'll find somebody who
in
understands it to talk to you, though, because I'm a little bit lacking on the knowledge. So back to the whole thing, I suppose, the impact of quantum tech. And as a security industry, we seem, well, one, not to talk about it much, and two, are we just assuming someone else is going to sort this out for us, or do we need to start doing stuff now, Roger?
Every single company, organization, and person is going to be involved in a massive quantum migration project lasting years soon. And not only are most companies not budgeting for it, 99.9%, I'm making that up, aren't aware of it. So if anything I can communicate to readers today is you need to start preparing, and by preparing I mean at least a data protection inventory, which is where you go look and find out what data do I need to keep secure for more than a few years? How's it protected today? And do I need to replace it or upgrade it? I'll let Aaron talk, but it's people need to be doing stuff now.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I work for the enterprise level, right? And I see it. There's no protection thought at all. I mean, right now we're still just dealing with storage in a modern sense. There's not even the thought of quantum and computing coming in. I mean, you're just so worried about the current crypto attack or current cyber attacks that
ransomware, computer trojans, insider attacks, computer worms. So I get it. The problem is, we don't even have the staff to staff. Every single major company is going to need to staff up for this project. We don't have the staff for what we need to do now. So there is definitely, I think, going to be a resource crunch, a time crunch. Like imagine if the Chinese announced, hey, we find that the Chinese have a computer that can break all the data today. Maybe and the RSA is like, well, don't worry, we have it too. So the entire world in one day is told that all your secrets are readable.
Yeah.
Like it would take you from that point years to get yourself upgraded.
Years.
It goes back to what you originally said, though, Roger, that all of the tech, well, you didn't say this, I'm putting words in your mouth now. All of the tech and the advancements that we see, it does loosely come back to that. All of the tech and advancements we've seen in history all go through the military first and tend to be developed there. So I do wonder whether, flippant comment, but is that available already to some people? I don't know.
And if it's not, like, so it used to be a joke. The answer to when is quantum computers going to start breaking encryption, the joke has been, it's about 10 years away. And I've been saying that for 30 years, right? It's 10 years away. Well, today, the critics, the ones that think it's the furthest away, think it's about 10 years away. Probably average consensus is half of that. And then you have people like me that think, there's 15% chance it's already happened. And I think it's going to happen in the next couple of years. And let me say in my Cryptography Apocalypse book, published 2 years ago, I said, it's going to happen in 2 years or something. Hasn't happened yet that I know of. But I think that what's changed is that for sure, quantum computers are continually to move and get more qubits. Like we actually have created quantum computers, quantum qubits, and all you need is anywhere between 9,000 and 1 million qubits to break encryption. We already have the qubits, the stable qubits, or if you have unstable qubits, you might need 1 million of them. We know how to make them. There's one thing that America and China knows how to do is to make more of something. Like that literally is what we do. Is you need a transistor, you need 1 billion transistors on a chip. We can do that, right? Even we're
good at shopkeeping. If we can get involved in any way. Yeah.
The poster behind me, that's Alan Turing's computing bombs in World War II. He's like, hey, I made this computer machine that can break the Germans' Enigma code. And the people looked at it and went, it would take hundreds of those things. And he was like, yes, let's get started.
Yes,
right?
Let's do it.
And then he made it, and it cracked the encryption and changed. It saved millions of lives and ended the war years earlier. Well, that's when I hear about the qubits. They're like, the government, there's no way. I hear all these people on quantum projects, there's no way. And I have all these friends that are like, I have lots of friends working on quantum projects for companies that you've not heard that's working on quantum projects. And let me say there are companies like Panasonic and stuff, but you're like, they're working on quantum. And like, we're going to have 1 million qubits in 2 years. Well, I don't know how you get from today, the public announced standard is 70 to 90 qubits. I don't know how you get from 70 to 90 to 1 million times all these other companies that you've never heard of without there
In
being
2
a lot
years.
more qubits today that they're not talking about. That, either that
Either
or
that or
all of my friends are lying to me about getting 1 million qubits in a couple of years.
Or an incredible way to generate them very
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, yeah. And let's say the Australians in New Zealand, University of Auckland and stuff, and New Zealand, they're really good at they're actually probably the furthest along of putting quantum bits on a chip. So once that process gets done, it's just going to be a chip you plop into a computer, and you'll have your traditional computer that's doing, traditional calculations. You'll have your quantum number processor unit or whatever, and you plug it in.
Yes, exactly.
Each side
basically
of the computer
your GPU.
Yeah, exactly. Each side will pop off and do what it does well, and they'll give you your answer on the screen.
Will I also have a neural chip and HoloLenses at this point, or are we away? I mean, there's another worry. I'm just going off tangent a bit. I mean, what Musk is working on with the kind of neural link is an amazing thing.
Is going to be
lots of people who've got disabilities. I mean, look at my mum with her Parkinson's, for example, is something that could help with that, motor neurone disease, all these other things. But equally, my God, are we crazy giving people access to our brains like that? Or is that just the way of the future, Roger? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the way of the future. I don't think you stop progress. Like, I got a lot of friends that are always dogging electronic vehicles, EVs. And I'd say they're not all good. And there's lots of bad things about them. And they're not as great as people tout. But I'm like, are you telling me they're not coming?
Yeah, they're going to be here.
Yeah. It's, same thing with cleaner power. It's all coming. You can argue and bitch about it, but it's coming. And the same thing with us having these, human links to tech. We already have, all kinds of stuff. We have the, pacemakers that keep people alive, and they wear, and the person just walks up and scans their chest to get the reading or to recharge their battery every couple of years. I mean, we're all kind of, robots in a way. And, a lot of people got joints, Simon, you're talking about a loved one that had, replaced these. And I've got to get one.
A bit like Aaron, I'm part titanium.
Both of us.
As well. So I'm part bionic, I think, or trying to be.
It does worry about, like, in the future is the hacker going to be someone that's killing people, right? They just walk by someone wirelessly. Like, you could do that today. You could wirelessly mess up somebody's heart, pacemaker.
Yes,
but you can do it today. Because of course they're not computer security protected or not well protected. But in the future, if everybody's got something like, we've all got this neural net or whatever, you do worry about the hackers, and even the biohackers, CRISPR biohackers. I worry about them, like CRISPR. I love CRISPR.
Goodness.
But someone can make something bad.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I do. I invest. I've got investment in every CRISPR company I can down lately. But I wonder, like, those biohackers where you got kids, you can order a kit off Amazon that allows you to make some dangerous thing. Like, that's just the future is going to be like the people that fight hackers. I think there's going to be a whole subculture that fights the biohackers. Right?
Me too.
I agree.
I really agree. And going back to my mum again, she's actually got a pacemaker, and it works through, like, I'd call it dial-up. So it kind of dials in. Honestly, dials into the hospital for updates. But when they fitted hers, because she's got irreparable heart failure as well, only one of the bits connected. So it's only working half the time. So they have to go in sometimes and ratchet it up. So it is that easy, where you could easily ratchet it up to a point that's beyond safe, or ratchet it down. And it's super scary. Going back to the whole connectivity thing, despite the fact I live in a rural location a mile away from any neighbours, I'm surrounded at the moment by an autonomous combine harvester going up and down at the back of my house, which makes my bum twitch.
Yes.
Every time it comes down here, because again, it's a huge. I can't show you, but
I think I saw that on Interstellar.
Oh,
I saw that on Interstellar.
Yes, you did, and they're definitely existing. Those things are expensive, but yes, they're making a lot of money in America as well.
They're making a lot of money everywhere. Going back, Paul, you made a comment there about needing new security processes to run hexadecimal streaming code. Paul, we need to connect after this. It'd be really good. From all the comments you've put in, sounds like you're working on something exciting, and I think all three of us would like to follow up with a conversation with you afterwards. So I've dropped my link in.
I would like to know, well, with the processor itself, that would be redesigning a computer. So, I mean, you're talking about 45 years of progress right there just being thrown out the door to a degree. I mean, you're wanting to change a processor into a completely new thing. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to do two things at once. So I'm just copying and pasting LinkedIn profiles. So if you two could amuse yourselves and chat for a minute, because I can't do two things at
Yeah,
once.
I see Ruben was talking about he's worried about foreign adversaries like China and Russia working on quantum computers for nation state purposes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody is, and U.S. is a nation state. The two biggest competitors so far absolutely seem like America and China. China seems to be a little bit more focused on quantum networking. That's like, and it's really a sense of national pride in China that you can go up to the average Chinese person and say quantum, and they can talk about it. They actually have quantum heroes that are celebrated in society and culture, and they're spending billions. And let me say that $1 billion goes about 8 times as far in the Chinese society compared to us. The United States, and when I say United States, it's not in most countries, not so much in China, but in the United States and maybe some others. You really have all kinds of countries and teams and researchers and people and multinational, international companies that are working on this. And like Microsoft has 8, just Microsoft by itself has 8 supercomputing centers working on quantum. And it's not just quantum computers, there's quantum devices and quantum random number generators. And for sure, the biggest, the biggest changes are going to be this hidden secret nation state stuff. So that's, always, again, when I talk to my quantum serious buddies that are, quantum scientists and stuff, when I tell them I think we have quantum computers today, I think there's a good chance, or I give it 15% chance. They all laugh at me because they're inherently working. They're working with these computers and they're not that far along. But I was like, that's what they like asymmetric encryption, RSA, when that was finally revealed, it was revealed
in 1990 going for quite a while. Yeah.
That the British had actually discovered it first. And that's frequently what nation states do. They have the money and the resources and the focus to do these things. And I would think, in my mind, it would be unusual if a Google or a Microsoft or an Amazon actually discovered sufficiently capable quantum computers first and released it in a commercial application. I would think even if they discover it, they're still going. The military is going to pay well.
I would agree. I would.
The other thing is, Aaron, is data theft, isn't it? You look at I'll name countries. You look at what China in particular are doing at the moment with regards to stealing information on technology, and there's no easier way than letting someone else do all the hard work and then just nicking the work at the end. And
the NSA has said that
Roger,
China adversaries are sniffing our data already, storing it. And let me say, no doubt we're doing the same thing, waiting for the day. Waiting for the day when sufficiently capable quantum computers can break it. So if you have secrets today, you should not be putting them on quantum susceptible networks.
No, not in any way. I agree. And I mean, what do you think that center is in the middle of Utah? We're collecting every bit of data there is. And you can guarantee that every country in the world is. So
every sufficiently capable nation is spying on its citizens, spying on its adversaries, and also trying to get quantum computers that can crack crypto. I mean, it's just the nature.
The code.
It's the nature of the beast and what we've always done. And I don't think quantum or AI, AI, where they're going to put the best AI. It's probably not going to be in Amazon's distribution center, but close. It's probably going to appear in the military application first, like you and Simon said. So and I'm not always against that because at least we're getting it. We get the benefits, right? Of they make it, they pay a lot of money for it, and then 10 years later we get it for cheap.
I mean, look at what World War II did. I mean, World War II generated so much technology; it's crazy. So I mean, war and military, unfortunately, does create technology for people.
Computers.
Yes, exactly.
Created by the military.
You were 100%. Yep.
I don't know if you can see this. So I saw this for the first time yesterday. I don't know how to make it full screen. Here we go. Is that going to work? No. Chip Harris, who I had on the show last night on The Ultimate Hack, we were talking about where the attacks are coming from and going to. And I love the live representation that actually shows where the attacks are going and coming, because one could be forgiven for thinking it was just the bad actors attacking us all the time. But, there's a bit of reciprocity going on there, and we are giving a bit back. And I think this map kind of shows that in a very scary way as to how much activity there is. And I've got about 12 links from Chip to go through for all these different attacks that happen. It's just giving me nightmares, really. I should just stick to fiction books, I think.
We're definitely always attacking each other. That's just, I mean, we've done so since war began. Spies.
Here's the difference, though. Like, I know my nation, the United States, is attacking other people. The United States government is very likely not hitting foreign companies with ransomware and say, pay me $1 million and I'm not unlocking your data. But Russia is.
Yes.
Russia is.
100%.
Iran is. North Korea is.
Yes.
And, but we're certainly, Stuxnet was, as soon as we released and opened that Pandora's box, and that was United States and Israel releasing that, that pretty much said to everybody else, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
And it's happening, and we're living in, if Stuxnet was never released and or discovered, would that have slowed things down? I think probably, it
would have definitely slowed it down. Yes, it would have slowed it down.
And it was not only did it quicken things up, but it said, okay, if you had an ethical problem with it, the supposedly great America had no ethical qualms with using it. So
no, we didn't mind destroying it.
Although
ethics go out the window in war a little bit, though. Sometimes they have to, don't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, the Cold War. Yeah, and Stuxnet too. A lot of people don't know, but Israeli spies actually killed people. Like so Stuxnet's going off, bringing down the Iranian centrifuges. And so Iran responded by getting their top Iranian nuclear expert that was used to these nuclear, and he got blown up. And then so they got number 2 guy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he got blown up. So Iran said, hey, let's not call our nuclear experts in to troubleshoot this problem. And it turned out 3 Israeli Mossad people were in a hotel room, and they found a 3rd Iranian scientist that was killed. And it turned out they had the room that was adjoining his room with one of the doors. Nice. And he had previously been, they thought he had died of natural causes, but he just happened to have the adjoining room with the 3 Mossad agents, which are the Iranians actually posted their names and pictures, and I assume they're not traveling outside of Israel anymore.
I would think not, at least not into those areas. No, that's interesting.
War is hell, and Cold War is hell too, and it's I'm glad I'm not involved in any of that sort of stuff. But I will take the benefits of your computing technology when it gets down to the good things we can do, such as trying to save the earth and make cleaner air and less pollution. And you know what I can't wait for? Autonomous driving, where we don't have to stop at any traffic lights.
We don't have to worry about it.
No more tailgating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can you imagine if you rent your pod or whatever? I need a pod, go to work, and you're not slowing down ever. You can do your homework in the pod. There's far less accidents. Although right now they're hitting like fire trucks and 18-wheelers. You're like, something's wrong with the algorithm. Yeah. They keep running into like really big things.
Big items.
You might be able to help me understand what I saw when I was in San Francisco then. So every other car in San Francisco a couple of months ago seemed to have a big box on the roof that I don't know if they were teaching the cars, whether that was them learning. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Probably LiDAR, radar, and teaching them, and some of them, I mean, it's a guidance system. But it's funny. People are like, oh, they're crashing all the time. They do, but it turns out at a far lesser rate than human beings.
Way far less rate.
But the problem with the autonomous ones is you're like supposed to pay attention, and then you read people run into a fire truck or an 18-wheeler and they kill themselves, and you're like, they really weren't paying attention then. But that tells you about the human. So autonomous driving not ready. But we're telling people, oh, you can download it for $2,000 and use it. And then you tell the human being, you must pay attention. But humanity shows that we're not going to pay attention.
Who's going to pay attention when
and then when you see out of the corner of your eye this big red object fire truck, you're then being asked to have this superhuman response time to a super emergency event without it. So it's kind of interesting. You say, well, should we allow autonomous driving when it's in this phase where it's hitting fire trucks and pedestrians and bicyclists, and they hit a motorcycle last week? Well, they're killing people at lesser rate than humans. Yeah, but you do wonder.
The really interesting one. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
The really interesting one was the back of the 18-wheeler, where the light of the 18-wheeler was so bright that the LiDAR could not. Well, they don't even use LiDAR in Tesla. I
think they use radar. They use radar and
use cameras only.
Oh, really?
They removed the radar even to make it cheaper. So they're literally using, I believe, 8 cameras. Sorry, my dog's kind of going crazy. She wants to go out. But no. So yeah, they completely removed even radar, which is interesting, of course, because that's relying on the human, but not the human, but basically the human concept of vision for, well, protecting yourself in an auto driving car, which is pretty interesting.
I'm not
So
going to be doing my
obviously,
homework or my work sitting down relaxing in one just yet. I'll leave it a few years, I think, but I am looking forward to that day. I'm just off tangent a bit. Brandon mentioned earlier comments, China just hiding it in plain sight with TikTok. Try and tell my 13-year-old to come off TikTok. He won't listen to me. If anyone can help with that, that would be much
Well, you know,
appreciated.
yeah, first with TikTok, I said, well, who cares if TikTok finds out what TikTok videos I have? But then it was announced a couple of weeks ago that TikTok's application has full access to your phone, like everything.
yes.
You're like and they don't need it. And so then I had a bunch of friends kind of saying, well, get rid of TikTok. And, the previous administration was right. And they should have. I was like, is there a large company vendor, Microsoft, Google, that
That
hasn't
doesn't have
also
access.
done the exact
Yes.
same thing?
Right,
And we didn't
exactly.
ban them. We just yelled at them. We fined them. And then we still kind of let all of our information go, even in their updated thing. They're like, oh, you can make these changes, but they bury it 23 steps below.
I think China have got
yeah.
their hands full with a pretty full-blown property crisis at the moment. Anyway, we don't hear much of that in the news. We hear all the other stuff, but they're in serious trouble at the moment. And
They are.
the government are doing
Financially, yes.
and suppress, what people are saying as they usually do. But my concern there, again, going off tangent, is to control a population. What's the best way to do that? Go to war, isn't it? So, with all the posturing that's going on at the moment, the distraction for the Chinese people, who are realizing that maybe their CCP isn't quite as good as it's cracked up to be. And all these companies have been horrendously leveraged for the last few years and basically been borrowing money off properties they've already sold or haven't built.
Yes.
And it makes our 2008 property crash look insignificant. But
yeah, to be honest with you, I don't want that. I don't want the Chinese property crash and banking crisis. If I've read some books on it, pretty big and kind of like ours. You don't want it to happen. You're like, oh, it's China. I'm fine if they crash.
No.
It impacts everybody.
It will be impacting the whole world. And
we're hoping they can just somehow unwind it, deleverage quietly. Just like our quantum. Going back to quantum. What we hope happens is that we all have time to upgrade to quantum resistant ciphers before somebody breaks it. That's what you hope. We've done that with SHA-1 to SHA-2. We did it from DES to AES. We have these previous examples where we did massive encryption migrations in a timely manner before they actually fell. And that's really the big question for quantum is will we all be able to, it's a bigger upgrade like AES and DES and SHA-1 were very specific things, and they were tough enough. This is impacting everything, nearly everything. So it's a bigger chunk.
So we're about a minute away, Aaron, from wrapping up. Do you want to give some final words, Aaron and Roger? Aaron, you first on, I suppose, message to everyone who's in security watching this and what we need to do moving forward, maybe pulling together a bit.
Well, everybody in security, we need to be obviously thinking about quantum technologies and the future of the enterprise level. And as we said, there's so many threats currently that there's many places that do not do that right now. And on a technological level, I just wanted to say that obviously my goal is like Roger's to change this world for the better. And so let's do so. We can do it. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
Roger, any final words, sir?
Yeah, I think just real quick, everybody here listening today, go download the Cloud Security Alliance's quantum paper called Practical Preparations in a Post-Quantum World. I have the link here, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to post it. This is private chat. But in
private chat, Roger, I could copy it across.
There we go. But download that, read it. You need to start doing what's called a data protection inventory, which is, and it will benefit you whether or not you do quantum or anything. The idea that we don't know what's protecting, and you need to also learn about the word crypto agile, crypto agility, and make your vendors of all your software, hardware, and firmware start to be crypto agile, which means that you can upgrade the encryption so that if the latest NIST standard falls, that you can upgrade the encryption without
Switching quite
replacing or
easy.
doing complicated upgrade things. So learn data protection inventory and become crypto agile, and refuse to buy products that aren't crypto agile.
Or say AI in them. Splodge has just put a quick question in. We'll finish off with that, Splodge, because you jump in all my streams and I really appreciate it. Will MFA assist in helping delay the issue with quantum? Roger, can you address that?
No, most of it's quantum susceptible. MFA is a good thing. You should use it whenever you can. Most of it's easily phishable, 95% of it. I write a lot about this. You should use MFA, but you should try to use the more secure forms and phishing resistant MFA. There's lots of that out there. Most people don't use it. All the stuff most people use is as easy to hack as a password.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Look, everyone, thank you so much, firstly, to our guests, Roger and Aaron. Thanks for coming along and providing the insight to everyone.
Always.
So much appreciated.
Thank you, Roger, always.
No,
thank
absolutely.
you both.
Yeah,
Thanks everybody for showing up.
Yeah, and the next thing is everyone in the chat, again, you've blown me away with the engagement today. It makes these streams so much more fun, so much more of a learning experience as well. And I think my parting comment is obviously going to be around marketing, but no, it's not going to be around marketing budget. It's going to be around education and awareness, though. And I think whether we're talking about quantum or anything, the industry as a whole needs to focus more on the education and awareness piece than we do anything else. So come and join InfoSec Live, our free community, if you're not already a member. Again, Aaron, you've got an amazing community on LinkedIn yourself, Inside Scoop, that people can come along and join. I've dropped everyone's LinkedIn profile links into the chat. So if you want to connect with us, please do. For me, that's me done for the week. It's Friday. Do a little dance. It's now 5 o'clock in the UK. I'm signing off the day. So Roger, Aaron, thank you so much. And Raven Cortez,
Enjoy.
thank you for this stinger. See you all soon.